Hi, I'm Jason, and this is the Cultural Breakdown. So, the resident Neanderthal of Hollywood has come out lately in support or somewhat support of the Actors Guild by basically threatening uh, an unnamed executive. So, let's watch this video coming from TNZ.
Thing before I get off this. The motherfucker who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments.
Okay, that was a callous remark by some unnamed studio executive saying, like, well, once the writers start having trouble paying their rent and mortgage, then they'll come back and negotiate. And that's true. That's not a good thing to say, but that's ultimately how labor negotiations work. Union members say, we're not going to produce a product for the company, therefore the company's not going to make money until they give us what we want. And then the company is like, well, we're not going to pay you unless you're working. And then it's just a matter of who breaks first. And by the looks of it, the studios have all the power there. I mean, they're not going to fall in a couple of months. I mean, a lot of these writers, they might not be able to last a few months without a paycheck. So it'll take some time. I mean, it'll be some time. I mean, but once they eat into their savings, they'll go. And I don't think a studio like Disney, for instance, will fall during that time frame. So that is a realistic thing, but yeah, you just don't say it. Let's continue with this.
Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the said that. And we know who said that.
They know.
And where he lives.
They know where he lives.
There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people.
I don't think they wished it.
You wish that families starve.
They just said that's the reality.
You're making $27 million a year for creating nothing.
27 million is a specific number.
Be careful, motherfucker. Be really careful. Because that's the kind of shit that stirs shit up.
I just love how he's so geriatric. He thinks he's on Sons of Anarchy still. It's like, okay, dude, you pretended to be a tough guy on TV, but you're not a tough guy in real life. In fact, a lot of these actors are think that they start thinking that they're the characters that they play, and they're not. Well, Ron Perlman has since come out and said, like, tried to clarify, because like, oh, well, I don't wish harm on anybody and blah blah blah. It's like, no, he does these unhinged rants all the time. Okay, when you're angry, the first response shouldn't be to grab your phone and make a video to post on the internet. It's like, you can even say you're angry and even be angry a little bit, but kind of like figure out, like, take a deep breath and figure out, like, how am I going to say this? What am I going to say? Don't say something that you're going to regret it. Like, unless he did that and he's like, no, I want to make a threat, and then later just backpedal and say, I don't want to make a terroristic threat. I guess his lawyers might have called him after he posted that and be like, dude, you got to kind of tone it down a little bit, because what you just said could be considered illegal, especially if people do go to this person's house and like burn it down or something like that. And who he was talking about, no one knows for sure because he doesn't say. But like I said, the 27 million was a specific number, and this was reported several months ago that's how much Bob Iger is compensated yearly. So maybe that's what he was talking about, or who is talking about. I mean, and this does kind of come in light to Bob Iger recently making comments that Fran Drescher, who is the president of SAG-AFTRA, did say that his comments were repugnant and tone deaf. And what did Bob Iger said? Like, well, he basically said it's disruptive for the industry, and right now they don't really have the capabilities of paying people, and that kind of going with what Disney's been doing lately, like downsizing, laying people off, and then you get the writers coming in saying like, hey, can we get a raise now that you're laying people off? It's like, no, that's not really how it works. But Iger continued, I understand any labor organization's desire to work on behalf of its members to get the most compensation and be compensated fairly based on the value that they deliver. We manage as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that the directors contribute to the great business. And that's true after the writers voted to struck, whatever. The directors actually accepted the terms of the studio, so they didn't strike. We wanted to do the same thing with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with the actors. There's a level of expectations that they have that is just not realistic. I mean, is that really such a tone deaf thing to say? Like, oh, well, he doesn't think that it's a realistic thing to ask for a raise while your company is downsizing. I understand inflation is hitting everyone. I mean, I haven't gotten a raise in some time now, so everyone's feeling it, but the writers are like, no, we're above this. And honestly, the actors are only striking because the writers strike halted productions anyway, so the actors might as well play hardball. But it is true, once they start eating into their savings, that's the writers, and they have trouble paying their bills, then they're going to be more willing to negotiate. And at that time frame, the studios will reach a deal with them, and then the actors will come back and they'll start negotiating instead of playing hardball and everything, and then they'll reach a deal and everything will go back to normal. But until then, this is just really a stupid situation, and I'm just kind of laughing at everyone involved with it, because ultimately what the best case scenario I see is just to kind of do away with what the writers and actors are doing now and feel like, okay, we're going to just focus on independent productions, give $5-10 million to or to like creatives to produce something, give them creative control, and they'll just put out a lot more of that cheaper content, as opposed to just focusing all of our money on these few blockbusters that are growing increasingly less profitable. But let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you like this video, make sure you click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.